What is up, everyone? Originally, I wasn't going to do this because there really wasn't too much information throughout the month of March that didn't just be about the Testfire, but within the last few days we've gotten quite a bit of information, so I'm going to go over two things that we've learned over the last few days, and because at the time of recording this it is technically still March, I'm just going to consider this to be the March information update. So, let's get started. So first up, we get this little look at some abilities that are returning to the game. Now we get to see quite a few of them, and quite a few question marks. We also get to see that Ink Resistance has a new icon, and at the very bottom right, you can see that there's something new that hasn't been seen before. There's a lot of speculation regarding what this ability is. Some people have tried to say that it's probably a redesigned Cold-Blooded, but that wouldn't really make sense because Echolocator, we know Echolocator's gone, so the only way that we know of now that you can be marked is through Tentamissiles, but there really wouldn't be a need to have Cold-Blooded to reduce being marked from that. We did get some confirmation from the Splatoon US Tumblr, which is the account run by the localization team, that they say that some new abilities will be joining along with some time-tested favorites. Now, the key word with that phrase is some. Not all abilities will be returning, it seems like. Only some of the abilities will be returning, which may mean that stuff like Stealth Jump may be gone. We're kind of expecting things like Recon to be gone because that would require people to open the map onto their screen to see where things are, and so I'm just interested to see what these abilities are, especially the one that we can't really see too much of. I think they did that intentionally, having it just be just barely on screen. It was obviously intentional, and I'd like to see what these the new abilities are, these question marks. And the last thing that I'm going to go over is that they gave a name to the Sea Urchin Kid that looked a lot like Spyke. In the English version, his name is Merch, but in the Japanese version, his name is Spyke, which really isn't too creative. But they also revealed that how gear will work in Splatoon 2, along with the fact that we got, solid confirmation that abilities are in fact tied to gear, which a lot of people were wondering if they weren't going to be due to a tweet that was mistranslated from the Splatoon JP account. But abilities are tied to gear, so sorry for all the people that wanted to, use what they wanted to use and not have to worry about abilities. But what's going to be coming up soon here may actually still allow you to do something very similar. So, Merch will allow you to take your gear and wipe the sub off of them. All your sub abilities will just get wiped clean back to question marks. And why would you want to do this? Well, if you do, you get ability chunks. These ability chunks will then later allow you to create your own sub onto a piece of gear. So in the diagram, you can see some of the sub abilities being scrubbed into, these chunks. And we don't know how many you need to collect to be able to choose or to have a sub ability. But once you gather enough, you can then use that to specify the sub you want on a piece of gear. So say you get enough chunks of Inksaber Main, well then you can give whatever you want a sub of Inksaber Main. And so it kind of fixes the problem of it being RNG reliant, which needed to be gone. And it added a bit more grinding, but I'd much rather go through this grinding than having to deal with the grinding that was save scumming. I didn't bother with save scumming myself, I just got really lucky with rolls. And then I was also someone who helped test Splat Hacks when that came out, so I just had access to that. I never bothered save scumming. But this is definitely a huge step up from Splatoon 1's gear system, which was very flawed in the sense that you paid a rather large amount of money in the game to have nothing in return. Nothing is guaranteed. You pay a lot of money, or you pay something that you got through an event that happened once every 2 months, and you weren't guaranteed anything. that was one of the biggest flaws of it, is that because it just played a roulette, there wasn't really any skill, there was just luck, and it was just annoying to deal with. But this, I don't have any problems with this. It could be a bit better. I'd much prefer to just pay to specify a single slot and not have to do this grinding, but I'd take this over having to deal with the roulette again. I plan to, spend a lot of time just grinding away at the game anyway, so I'm going to be collecting a lot of this money. What's going to be weird is it's going to go from like people wanting to grind their gear, so there's going to be a lot of people that are just going to be constantly resetting their shirts, their shoes, their hats, and then just, getting the subs off of them. One thing that this will be really useful for is, say, a shirt or a shoe or a hat, whatever, has a bias towards something, so it's branded to have a certain ability, and you want it to instead be on a shirt or whatever piece of gear that is not favored towards that ability. You can grind it on this one piece of gear, get all the chunks, and then use it to form the subs on the thing you want. So it gives you some freedom to be able to look how you want to look, but you still can't change the main ability. The main ability on the piece of gear is still locked. You cannot change that with chunks, you can only change the sub abilities. But this is still a pretty big step up from the first game, and I have no problems with it. So that's pretty much it. I'm hoping that April gives us at least a bit more information. I'd just like to have more than like this few minutes of stuff. I do understand why the information was very slow, because they wanted to prioritize the Testfire, because that was going to be a big thing, and now the Testfire was over, they went back to giving us information about the full game. So hopefully within the next few weeks here in April, we'll actually get some more stuff regarding the final game itself. So thanks everyone for watching, and if you're interested in looking into this stuff, the links to the posts from Tumblr will be in the description.